Hello, my dear friends. I'm Samantha, and welcome to the Sedge Circle podcast. How are you today? I hope you're well. We are going to be covering a lot of fun and interesting topics this year. As I record this, I have a pot of avocado skins and pits simmering on the stove so that I can try natural fabric dyeing. I'm so excited to share all of this with you. And if you weren't aware, I am now offering a membership on buymeacoffee.com if you'd like to show your support for both the Sedge Circle podcast as well as the blogs that I will be writing. But today I wanted to talk about healing. Now, I am not a psychologist, a counselor, or anything of the sort. The closest thing I have is a degree in health and wellness and having been a certified holistic life coach in the past. What I do have is experience and a relatively strong ability to pull valuable wisdom from them. As I always say, my way isn't the way, but a way. Today I wanted to share my thoughts on healing. Our society is not currently centered on having an emotionally or mentally healthy population. And it can be quite barbaric at times, despite our modernity. Suffering is indeed a part of life. It gives contrast to peace and joy, making them all the more valuable. And while it would be ideal for us to live in a utopia, and maybe someday we will, that is not what is happening right now. And right now is what matters most. I feel healing is misunderstood by society as a whole. Healing is not the absence of grief, sadness, anger, or pain. It is impossible, but if I had to define being healed, I would say it is when past pains no longer dominate your thoughts, feelings, as well as how you react to situations. Bear in mind, reacting is different than responding. Emotions from past experiences can certainly well up at times, but when you are healed, you will understand them and respond to them with clarity instead of reacting out of fear. Healing ebbs and flows like the sea, and over time, we learn how to float with the tides. We learn to be in touch enough with our feelings to know what they are, where they come from, and why we feel the way we do. And just like the waves in the sea, if we understand them well enough, we can use them to move ourselves in constructive and positive directions. When I am feeling out of sorts, there are 4 important questions I ask myself. Feel free to write these down so you can use them later. The questions are: what am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What can I do about it? And do I need help? These questions help me to organize my feelings so I can better understand them. A storm can be intimidating, but if we learn to see the rain, thunder, and lightning as separate parts, suddenly it's not so bad. I find it helpful to write these questions and their answers down on paper or even in a journal, as it helps me to view them objectively once they are outside of my head. It is important to be mindful while observing your feelings. Now, mindfulness is a commonly used word to describe the feeling and act of living in the present, but it's much more than that. It is also non-judgmental. It does not suppress or exaggerate these feelings. It simply allows them to be what they are without judgment or shame for feeling them. The first thing we can do when we are suffering is to be a compassionate self-observer. When we feel compassion for others, our hearts respond to their pain. Now, it is not pity, but a sharing in suffering. After all, compassion literally means to suffer with. When we see someone crying, we may not know why they are crying, but it doesn't matter. They're obviously in some kind of pain, and we feel that pain. We can use this for our own pain, to look at ourselves, understand that we are suffering, and make space for that pain, and practice self-love and care. The second thing we can do is to remember our shared humanity. It is easy to feel isolated when we are suffering, especially in our modern times where we see on social media is only the good parts of others' lives. You cannot compare your worst to someone's best, and truly, we shouldn't be comparing anyway. But I digress. It can be easy to feel like you are the only one suffering and that bad things only happen to you. Realizing your pain and problems are part of our shared humanity does not mean your problems and your injuries don't matter or are less than others, but that they are shared and experienced by others as well. In a way, this helps us to share our burdens, even with people we don't know, making those burdens feel just a little lighter. Sometimes that heaviness is all that is standing in the way of your first step toward healing. While healing and the healing journey is important, it is also important not to become obsessed with it. And more important is to not rush through it. Healing does not have a finish line. It's not a race. Sometimes healing takes years, sometimes hours. Each way is valid. When my lover and I experienced loss, we always allowed ourselves 1 full year, 4 full seasons, to experience this new life without that person. We made space for their absence in each situation. We created new traditions, sometimes in honor of the person, and sometimes to fill the space they left behind. Being conscious of their absence and allowing ourselves the time and space to feel our feelings, we knew better what to expect the next coming year. No one can tell you how long you should mourn, be angry, or feel pain. It is important to respect everyone's journeys. And at first, it can feel all-encompassing, as there can be a lot to unpack. It has been my experience that over time, you begin to tire of healing and it being at the forefront of your thoughts. We refer to it as healing fatigue, if you will. You can still live a prosperous, eventful life while you are on your healing journey. As the ability to identify and understand your emotions and reactions becomes easier, you will find you spend less time on healing. And joy is a part of healing. Remembering and discovering things that bring you joy in life can help to fill the space you've created through your healing journey. Maybe it's creating art, maybe dancing, perhaps going on a picnic, which is one of my personal favorites. These things are what help give our lives meaningful experiences and value. And they also become the new narrative. They become the new story of our lives. The last thing I wanted to talk about is how no one is responsible for your journey. And in turn, you are not responsible for theirs. You can be supportive, offer advice, and in turn, receive support and advice. But it is up to you to take those steps down that healing path. There have been times in my life where I've had to set firm boundaries with others, and not for lack of wanting to help, but lack in ability. Sometimes all you can do is be a friend, and if that is not enough, wish them well on their journey. It is okay to not have the ability to help. It is not a judgment on your own value. Accepting our limitations can be hard, but we all have them. And it is better to bow out gracefully than to exceed your own abilities, which could cause more harm than good. You, and should you have children, are your responsibility. This is where your priorities and energy must first go. And that can be hard, especially if you have a helpful soul. So, my friends, this is but one path on many healing journeys. These are all things I keep in my healer's proverbial toolbox, and I use them regularly. It is impossible to sum up every healing method, but I find these to be universally helpful, and I hope they help you. So I suppose that's all I have to say about that today. Until we meet again.